The morning coffee confession, the morning sun streamed through the floor-to-ceiling windows of Davenport Industries, casting golden light across the sleek marble floors of the 40th floor. Rachel Bennett adjusted her navy blazer and checked her reflection in the glass wall one more time before heading to her desk. 3 years at this company, and she still felt a flutter of nerves every morning. "Girl, you look like you were ready to battle dragons," her colleague Monica Chen said, appearing with 2 steaming cups of coffee. Monica had been Rachel's work friend since day one. The person who made corporate life bearable with her humor and unwavering support. Rachel accepted the coffee gratefully, its rich aroma helping to calm her nerves. "I might as well be battling dragons. James wants the quarterly report by noon, and you know how he gets when numbers are not perfect." Monica perched on the edge of Rachel's desk, her expression turning sympathetic. Is he still being impossible? Impossible does not even begin to cover it. Rachel sighed, pulling up the spreadsheet she had been working on until midnight. "Yesterday, he sent back my presentation 3 times. 3 times, Monica? Each time with notes that contradicted the previous feedback. The honest venting session." Monica glanced around the open office space, making sure no one was within earshot. The morning rush had not fully started yet, with only a handful of early arrivers scattered throughout the modern workspace. "Between you and me, what do you really think of him?" Rachel leaned back in her ergonomic chair, a wry smile crossing her face. "You want the truth? The man is brilliant, I will give him that. The way he turned this company around after his father passed away is nothing short of remarkable. But working for him is like walking on eggshells covered in broken glass." "That bad?" Monica asked, taking a sip of her own coffee. "He is demanding, particular, and has absolutely zero tolerance for anything less than perfection." Rachel continued, warming to the subject. Years of frustration were bubbling to the surface. Last week, he made Jennifer from accounting redo an entire financial projection because 1 decimal point was off. 1 decimal point, Monica. Monica shook her head sympathetically. "The man clearly has control issues, perfectionist tendencies, and an ego the size of Lake Michigan," Rachel added, her voice rising slightly with passion. "But here's the thing that makes it all so much worse. He is ridiculously attractive, like annoyingly attractive. It is not fair that someone so difficult to work with should also be so good-looking." Monica nearly choked on her coffee, her eyes widening with interest. "Rachel Bennett, are you saying you have a crush on our boss?" "Absolutely not," Rachel protested, but she could feel her cheeks warming. "I am saying it is frustrating when someone who makes your work life miserable also happens to have these intense blue eyes that seem to look right through you. And do not even get me started on that jawline. The man could cut glass with that jaw. So you've noticed his jaw," Monica teased, clearly enjoying this rare moment of Rachel letting her guard down. Rachel rolled her eyes, but could not help smiling. Anyone with functioning eyesight would notice. But that does not change the fact that his personality is about as warm as a Chicago winter. The man treats everyone like they are personally trying to ruin his day. The unexpected listener, he never smiles, never says thank you, and acts like the entire world revolves around him," Rachel continued, getting more animated. "Yesterday I stayed until 9 at night, finishing that market analysis he wanted. You know what he said when I gave it to him this morning? 'It will do.' That's it. 3 words after 12 hours of work." Monica was about to respond when her expression suddenly changed, her eyes fixed on something behind Rachel. The color drained from her face as she stood up abruptly, nearly spilling her coffee. "Monica, what is wrong?" Rachel asked, confused by her friend's sudden panic. Monica whispered urgently, but it was too late. "Good morning, ladies," a deep familiar voice said from directly behind Rachel's chair. Rachel's entire body went rigid. She knew that voice. She heard it in meetings, on conference calls, in her nightmares about work presentations going wrong. Slowly, as if moving through molasses, she turned her chair around. James Hartley stood 3 feet away, impeccably dressed in a charcoal gray suit that probably cost more than Rachel's monthly rent. His dark hair was perfectly styled, and those blue eyes she had just been describing were fixed directly on her with an intensity that made her stomach drop. The confrontation, Mr. Hartley, Rachel managed to say, her voice barely above a whisper. Her mind was racing, trying to calculate exactly how much he had heard. I did not realize you were here so early. Clearly, James said, and was that amusement in his voice. I came in early to review some contracts. I happened to be standing by the conference room door when I heard my name mentioned. Rachel wanted the floor to open up and swallow her whole. Monica had backed away slowly, clearly wanting no part of this disaster. Rachel could not blame her. Mr. Hartley, I can explain. Rachel started, but James held up a hand to stop her. Now, he said simply, then turned and walked away. His stride confident and unhurried, Rachel grabbed her tablet and coffee, her hand shaking slightly as she followed him across the office. She could feel the curious stares of other employees who had started arriving. By lunchtime, this would be all over the office gossip mill. James's office was exactly what you would expect from a CEO. Spacious, modern, with a stunning view of Chicago's skyline. The walls were decorated with tasteful art and awards the company had won under his leadership. His desk was perfectly organized, not a paper out of place. He closed the door behind them and gestured to one of the leather chairs facing his desk. Rachel sat, feeling like a student called to the principal's office. The unexpected response, so. James began, leaning against his desk rather than sitting behind it. Arrogant, cold, and unfairly attractive. That is quite an assessment. Rachel closed her eyes briefly, wishing she could disappear. Sir, I am so sorry. That was completely inappropriate. I was venting to a friend, and I should never have said those things, especially not at work. Were they true? James asked, and his tone was not what she expected. There was no anger, no coldness. He sounded genuinely curious. Rachel looked up at him, surprised by the question. His expression was not the mask of CEO authority she was used to seeing. There was something more open, more vulnerable in his face. Rachel hesitated, then decided honesty was her only option at this point. Some of it was true. You are demanding, and yes, you can be difficult to work with. But you are also brilliant, and you push people to do their best work. And the attractive part? James asked, and now there was definitely amusement in his eyes. Rachel felt her face burning. That was inappropriate for me to mention, but accurate. He pressed. Mr. Hartley, are you firing me or not? Rachel asked, unable to handle the tension anymore. Because if you are, I would rather you just get it over with. James was quiet for a moment, studying her face. Then, to Rachel's complete shock, he smiled. Not the tight professional smile she had seen him use with clients, but a genuine, warm smile that completely transformed his face. Rachel, do you know why I push you so hard? He asked. She shook her head, not trusting her voice. Because in 3 years you have become the most valuable person on my team, James said simply. Your market analyses are brilliant. Your presentations are always thoroughly researched. You think 3 steps ahead of everyone else in the room. Rachel stared at him, completely thrown by this turn in the conversation. But I have been a terrible boss to you, James continued, running a hand through his hair, messing up the perfect style. You are right about that. I do not know how to give compliments. I was raised by a father who believed praise made people lazy. So I just keep pushing, expecting excellence without ever acknowledging when someone achieves it. The proposal, I heard everything you said out there, James admitted. And you know what my first thought was? Not anger. It was relief. Relief? Rachel echoed, confused. Relief that someone finally had the courage to be honest with me, James explained. Do you know how many people in this office tell me exactly what they think I want to hear? How many yes men surround me every day? You are the first person in months to give me an unfiltered opinion, even if you did not know I was listening. He moved to sit in the chair next to her rather than behind his desk, putting them on equal footing. Rachel, I have a proposition for you. We have been looking for a new creative director for our expansion into digital markets. The position reports directly to me, includes a significant salary increase, and would give you authority over your own team. Rachel's mouth fell open slightly. You are offering me a promotion after I just called you arrogant to your face. I am offering you a promotion because you are the best person for the job, James corrected. The fact that you also have the honesty to tell me when I am being impossible is just an added bonus. I need someone who will challenge me, who will not just nod and agree with everything I say. He leaned forward, his blue eyes intense. But I need to know you can handle it. Working directly with me means more pressure, longer hours, and yes, probably more of my demanding perfectionism. Can you do that? Rachel's mind was spinning. This was the opportunity she had been dreaming about for years. But could she really work even more closely with James Hartley? Especially now that she had admitted out loud that she found him attractive? I need one thing from you in return, Rachel said, finding her courage. What is that? Honest feedback, she said firmly. If I do good work, I need to hear it. If I make a mistake, tell me how to fix it. But this silent treatment, this 3-word response, after hours of work that has to stop? James studied her face for a long moment, then extended his hand. Deal. Honest feedback, both ways. If I am being impossible, you have permission to tell me. Rachel shook his hand, feeling the warmth and strength of his grip. Then I accept the position. Good, James said, but he did not immediately let go of her hand. There is one more thing we should probably address. Ah! What is that? Rachel asked, very aware that he was still holding her hand. The part where you called me attractive, James said, and now there was something different in his eyes. Something that made Rachel's heart beat faster. Because, Rachel, you should know that the feeling is mutual. I have been trying very hard not to notice how brilliant you are, how dedicated, how you bite your lip when you are concentrating on a problem. Rachel's breath caught. Mr. Hartley, James, he corrected softly. When we are alone, call me James. The air between them felt charged with possibility and danger. Rachel knew she should pull her hand away, should establish professional boundaries, but she did not move. This is complicated, she whispered. The best things always are, James replied, finally releasing her hand but holding her gaze. But for now, let us focus on business. I will have HR draw up your new contract. We can figure out the rest as we go. As Rachel left his office, her mind was reeling. In the span of 20 minutes, her entire professional life had transformed, and possibly her personal life too, though that was a complication she was not ready to fully examine yet. Monica was waiting at her desk, eyes wide with concern. Are you fired? Do I need to start looking for a new work friend? Rachel sat down, a dazed smile on her face. Actually, I just got promoted. What? Monica practically shrieked. How did you go from insulting the boss to getting promoted? Rachel glanced back at James's office, where she could see him on the phone, that serious CEO expression back on his face. But when he caught her looking, he gave her a small, private smile that made her stomach flip. It is a long story, Rachel said. A very long, complicated story. And as she turned back to her work, she could not help but wonder what she had just gotten herself into. The new reality Monday morning arrived with a mix of excitement and anxiety for Rachel. Her new office was on the executive floor, just 3 doors down from James's corner suite. The space was impressive with modern furniture, a standing desk, and windows that offered a breathtaking view of the Chicago River. But what impressed her most was the nameplate on her door. Rachel Bennett, creative director. This is really happening, she whispered to herself. Setting down her leather briefcase, another upgrade that came with the new position. Good morning. Director Bennett, a cheerful voice called from the doorway. A young woman with bright red hair and an armful of folders stood there smiling. I am Amy Foster, your new assistant. Mr. Hartley asked me to help you get settled in. Rachel smiled warmly. Please, call me Rachel. I am not used to all this formality yet. Trust me, you will get used to it quickly around here, Amy said, entering the office and setting the folders on the desk. These are the current projects you will be overseeing. Mr. Hartley wants to meet with you at 10 to discuss the upcoming presentation to the Nakamura Corporation. They are flying in from Tokyo next week. The mention of James made Rachel's stomach flutter. She had barely slept over the weekend, replaying their conversation in her mind. The promotion was real, the professional opportunity was genuine, but there was something else hovering between them. Something unspoken but undeniable. The office gossip by lunchtime. Rachel discovered that her promotion had become the hottest topic in the office. She could feel the stares as she walked to the conference room, could hear the whispers that stopped abruptly when she passed. Did you hear Rachel Bennett got promoted? 3 years and she jumped straight to creative director? I wonder what she did to earn that position. The implication was clear, and it made Rachel's blood boil. She had worked incredibly hard for 3 years, had earned every bit of this opportunity. But already people were suggesting otherwise. Monica found her in the break room, pouring what was probably her 5th coffee of the day. Ignore them, Monica said quietly. They are just jealous. I know, Rachel sighed, but it still bothers me. I earned this position, Monica. My work speaks for itself. I know it does, Monica assured her. And anyone who actually pays attention knows it too. James Hartley does not hand out promotions based on anything other than merit. The man is too obsessed with perfection to let personal feelings interfere with business. Rachel wished she could be so sure, because the truth was, there were personal feelings now acknowledged if not acted upon. And that made everything infinitely more complicated. The high stakes. Presentation. The meeting with James at 10 turned into a 3-hour strategy session. They sat in his office, papers and tablets spread across the conference table, discussing every angle of the Nakamura Corporation pitch. They're traditional but forward-thinking, James explained, pulling up a presentation on the large screen. Robert Nakamura built his company from nothing, much like my father did. He values innovation but respects heritage. Rachel studied the information, her mind already working through possibilities. What if we approach this differently than the standard corporate pitch? Instead of focusing solely on profit projections and market expansion, what if we tell a story? James looked up from his notes, his blue eyes sharp with interest. What kind of story? The story of how Davenport Industries has evolved while maintaining its core values, Rachel said, standing up and moving to the whiteboard. She began sketching out ideas as she talked. Your father started this company in his garage, right? He built it on the principle that quality and integrity matter more than quick profits. That is right, James confirmed, watching her work with an intensity that made her skin tingle. Nakamura did the same thing in Tokyo, Rachel continued. If we can show him that despite our growth and modernization, we still operate on those same foundational principles, we create an emotional connection. Business is not just about numbers, James. It is about trust. James was quiet for a moment, then stood and walked over to where she was sketching. He was close enough that she could smell his cologne, something subtle and expensive that made her want to lean closer. You are brilliant, he said softly. Do you know that? Rachel turned to find him looking at her with an expression that was definitely not professional. James, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. We are at work. I know, he replied, but he did not step back. But that does not change the fact that watching you work, seeing your mind make these connections, it is incredibly attractive. This is exactly what we said we would not do, Rachel reminded him, even as her heart raced. I know, James repeated. You are right. I apologize. He stepped back, putting professional distance between them again. Let us focus on the presentation. Can you have a draft ready by Wednesday? Absolutely, Rachel said, grateful for the return to business. Even if part of her had wanted him to stay close. The working dinner Wednesday evening found them still in the office at 8 o'clock, refining the presentation. Amy had left hours ago, and the executive floor was empty, except for the cleaning crew making their rounds. We should take a break, James said, rubbing his eyes. I cannot look at these numbers anymore, agreed. Rachel stretched, feeling the tension in her shoulders from hours of sitting. I think we have got something really special here, though. James looked at the presentation on the screen, a satisfied smile crossing his face. We do, Rachel. This is exactly what we needed. You have transformed a standard business pitch into something memorable. The praise made her glow with pride. We make a good team. We do. James agreed, and there was weight behind those words that had nothing to do with business. There is a Thai place around the corner that delivers, he continued. Are you hungry? Rachel knew she should say no, should go home and maintain proper boundaries. But her stomach growled, betraying her. Starving, actually. They ordered food and ate in James's office, sitting on the comfortable couch rather than at the formal conference table. For the first time, their conversation drifted away from work. "Tell me something about yourself that I do not know," James said, leaning back with his tie loosened and his jacket draped over a chair. He looked more relaxed than Rachel had ever seen him. "Like what?" she asked, curling her legs under her on the couch.
Anything?
"Your family, your hobbies, your dreams, beyond climbing the corporate ladder." Rachel thought for a moment. "I have a younger sister, Jenna. She is in medical school at Northwestern. My parents live in Wisconsin, where I grew up. My dad is a high school teacher and my mom runs a small bookstore." "That sounds nice," James said. "Normal." "It is," Rachel smiled. "What about you?" "I know the public story, how your father built this company, how you took over when he passed. But what is the private story?" James was quiet for a long moment, staring at his glass of water. "The private story is lonelier," he finally said. "My father was brilliant but demanding. He taught me everything about business but nothing about balance. My mother left when I was young because she could not handle his obsession with work. I have no siblings. When he died 5 years ago, I inherited an empire but no real family." The vulnerability in his voice made Rachel's heart ache. "James, I am sorry." "Do not be," he said, managing a small smile. "I am not telling you this for sympathy. I am telling you because I want you to understand why I am the way I am. Why I push so hard. Why I do not know how to give compliments. Why relationships have always been difficult for me."
"Oh, relationships?"
Rachel asked carefully. "I have not had a serious relationship in years," James admitted. "The few I attempted failed because I did not know how to separate work from personal life. I brought the same intensity, the same control issues, the same perfectionism into my personal relationships that I bring to business. It does not work." The kiss Rachel set down her food and shifted closer to him on the couch. "James, you do not have to be perfect all the time. Not with me." He looked at her, and the walls he usually kept up were completely down. "That terrifies me. Because, Rachel, what I feel when I am around you, it is not something I can control or manage or perfect. It is messy and complicated and completely inappropriate given our professional relationship." "I know," Rachel whispered. "I feel it too. You should not do this," James said, but even as he spoke, he was leaning closer to her. "We definitely should not," Rachel agreed, her eyes dropping to his lips. "Tell me to stop," James said, his face now inches from hers. "I cannot," Rachel breathed. When their lips met, it was like a dam breaking. All the tension that had been building for days, maybe even for years, poured out in that kiss. James's hand came up to cup her face, his touch gentle despite the intensity of the moment. Rachel's fingers tangled in his hair, pulling him closer. When they finally broke apart, both breathing heavily, reality crashed back in. "We just crossed a line," Rachel said, her voice shaky. "We did," James agreed, his thumb tracing her jawline. "And I do not regret it. We work together, James. I report directly to you. This is every HR nightmare rolled into one." "I know," he said. "But Rachel, I have spent 5 years putting this company above everything else in my life. And in the span of 1 week, you have made me want something more." Rachel wanted to believe this could work, but the practical part of her brain was screaming warnings. "What do we do?" James was quiet for a moment, then said, "We are careful. We keep this between us for now, at least until after the Nakamura deal is closed. We maintain complete professionalism at work. But outside of work, outside of this office, we see where this goes." "That is going to be nearly impossible," Rachel said. "I know," James replied. "But you are worth the impossible." Secret agreement. They spent another hour talking, setting ground rules. At work, they would be nothing but professional. No lingering looks, no private jokes, no physical contact beyond what was appropriate for colleagues. Outside of work, they could explore whatever was happening between them. "My apartment or yours?" Rachel asked as they gathered their things to finally leave. "Mine has a doorman who gossips," James said. But I own the building, so I can control who knows what. Your place? I have nosy neighbors, Rachel admitted. But they do not know who you are. They decided to take separate cars. Meeting at a quiet restaurant in a neighborhood where neither of them were likely to be recognized. Over wine and appetizers they barely touched, they continued talking, learning about each other outside the context of work. I need to know this is real, Rachel said as the evening wound down. I need to know this is not just about the attraction or the forbidden nature of it. Because, James, I could lose everything if this goes wrong. I know, James said seriously. And I would never ask you to risk your career for me. That is why we have to be so careful. But Rachel, this is real. What I feel for you, it has been building for longer than you realize. That morning when I heard you talking, it was not just your honesty that struck me. It was the confirmation of what I had been trying to deny for months. They parted ways that night with another kiss. This one slow and sweet, a promise of more to come. The successful pitch the following week. The Nakamura Corporation arrived for their presentation. Robert Nakamura was a distinguished man in his 60s, accompanied by his daughter Yuki, who served as VP of International Operations. Rachel had prepared thoroughly. But standing in front of these influential people, she felt a flutter of nerves. Then she caught James's eye across the conference room. He gave her a subtle nod of encouragement. She felt her confidence return. The presentation was everything they had hoped for. Rachel told the story of Davenport Industries with passion and authenticity. Weaving in the parallels with Nakamura Corporation's own history, she highlighted not just the potential profits, but the shared values that would make the partnership meaningful. When she finished, Robert Nakamura was quiet for a long moment. Then he smiled. Miss Bennett, that was not a business pitch. That was a bridge between two companies built on the same foundation, he said in perfect English. You understand what many executives miss. Business is about relationships, trust, and shared vision. The deal was not closed immediately, but the tone was set. As the Nakamuras left, promising to send their decision within the week, James caught Rachel's eye again. The pride in something much warmer in his gaze made her heart soar. Drinks to celebrate? He murmured as the conference room emptied. Your place or mine? Rachel whispered back. Mine, James decided. I will leave first. Give it 20 minutes, then use the private elevator. It goes straight to the penthouse. The private celebration, James's penthouse, was stunning. Modern and masculine, with floor-to-ceiling windows, offering a panoramic view of Chicago's skyline. Rachel stood at the window, taking it all in. When she felt James's arms wrap around her from behind, You were amazing today, he murmured against her ear. We were amazing, she corrected. Leaning back against him, Rachel James turned her around to face him. I know we agreed to keep this quiet, to take things slowly. But I need you to know something. This is not casual for me. You are not casual for me. What are you saying? Rachel asked, her heart pounding. I am saying that I am falling for you, James said simply. And it terrifies me because I do not know how to do this. How to balance what I feel for you with running this company. How to protect your career while being honest about what we are to each other. Rachel reached up and cupped his face. Then we figure it out together. That is what partnerships are about, right? Neither person having all the answers, but being willing to work through the problems together. James kissed her then, deep and passionate, conveying everything he could not yet put into words. As they moved to the couch, as their kiss deepened and the city lights glittered around them, Rachel knew they were entering territory that was both thrilling and dangerous. The Nakamura deal came through 3 days later. A partnership worth millions, a validation of everything they had worked for. But as Rachel and James celebrated in the privacy of his penthouse, they both knew the real risk was not in the business deal. The real risk was in what they felt for each other, and whether they could keep it secret long enough to protect both their careers and their hearts. The unraveling secret 3 months passed in a careful dance of professional distance and private intimacy. At work, Rachel and James were the perfect example of boss and employee, all business and appropriate boundaries. But their nights told a different story. Dinners at hidden restaurants, weekends at James's lake house. Stolen moments that felt both precious and precarious. Rachel had never been happier, and that terrified her. "You are glowing," Monica observed one morning as they grabbed coffee. "New skincare routine?" "Something like that," Rachel deflected. She could feel the heat rising in her cheeks. The Nakamura partnership was exceeding all projections. Rachel's team had launched 3 successful campaigns, and her reputation in the industry was growing. Everything was perfect, which meant Rachel was constantly waiting for the other shoe to drop. It had dropped on a Tuesday morning in the form of Brandon. Pierce. Brandon was VP of Operations. A man who had expected to be promoted to creative director before Rachel got the position. He was smooth, political, and Rachel had always sensed he resented her success. "Rachel, do you have a moment?" Brandon appeared at her office door, his smile not reaching his eyes. "Of course, come in," Rachel said. Gesturing to the chairs across from her desk, Brandon closed the door, which immediately put Rachel on alert. "I wanted to talk to you about the Chicago Business Journal article."
Oh,
Rachel's stomach dropped. "What article?" "The one coming out tomorrow," Brandon said, pulling out his phone and showing her a screenshot. "A friend at the publication gave me a heads up. It is about rising executives in Chicago, and you are featured prominently." Rachel scanned the text, relief flooding through her. It was positive coverage, highlighting her innovative approaches and the success of the Nakamura deal. "This is good news," she said carefully, not sure where Brandon was going with this. "It is," Brandon agreed. "But there is a sidebar article that might interest you more, about corporate romances and conflicts of interest." Rachel's blood turned cold. "What are you implying?" "I am not implying anything," Brandon said smoothly. "But I have seen you and James leaving the building at the same times. Taking personal calls during meetings, the way he looks at you when he thinks no one is watching." "People talk, Rachel. People are imagining things," Rachel said firmly, trying to keep her voice steady. "Mr. Hartley and I have a professional relationship." "Nothing more," of course, Brandon said, standing up. "I just thought you should know what people are saying. It would be unfortunate if your impressive career was overshadowed by rumors." After Brandon left, Rachel sat frozen at her desk. Her hands were shaking as she pulled out her phone and texted James. "We need to talk now."
How?
The family crisis before James could respond. Rachel's phone rang. It was her sister Jenna, and she was crying. "Rach, there are reporters outside Mom and Dad's bookstore," Jenna sobbed. "They are asking about you and some billionaire CEO. Mom is so upset." "What is going on?" Rachel felt like she had been punched in the stomach. "I will call you back," she managed to say before hanging up. How had this happened? They had been so careful. Rachel's mind raced through every outing, every moment they might have been seen. Then she remembered last weekend, the art gallery opening James had convinced her to attend. They had been careful not to arrive together. But had they been too close inside? Had someone taken a photo? Her office door opened and James walked in, his expression stormy. He closed the door and pulled down the blinds. "Brandon just left my office with the same story," James said. "Rachel, I am so sorry." "My family," Rachel said, her voice breaking. "There are reporters at my parents' store. James, they do not even know about us. I have not told them anything because I did not know what to tell them." James pulled her into his arms, and for a moment, Rachel let herself lean into him. Then reality crashed back, and she pulled away. "This is exactly what we were afraid of," she said. "Now everyone is going to think I slept my way into this position. All my hard work, everything I have accomplished, it will all be dismissed as favoritism." "No one who knows your work could think that," James said firmly. "You do not understand," Rachel said, pacing her office. "You are the CEO, your position is secure. But me, I am the woman who got promoted suspiciously fast and then started dating her boss. It does not matter what the truth is, James. The narrative is already written." The emergency board meeting was called for that afternoon. Rachel was not invited, but she knew she was the topic of discussion. She sat in her office, unable to focus on work. Waiting for her career to implode, Monica brought her lunch that Rachel did not touch. "Whatever happens, you have got friends here," Monica said quietly. "We know what you are capable of." At 4 o'clock, James's assistant called, "Miss Bennet, Mr. Hartley would like to see you in the boardroom." Rachel took the elevator down one floor, her heart pounding. The boardroom was empty, except for James and three board members. Patricia Hughes, the board chair, Richard Thompson, CFO, and Margaret Chen, head of legal. "Miss Bennet, please sit," Patricia said, her expression unreadable. Rachel sat, forcing herself to maintain eye contact despite her terror. "We have reviewed the situation," Patricia began. "A relationship between a CEO and a direct report is problematic, to say the least. It creates potential conflicts of interest and exposes the company to liability." "I understand," Rachel said quietly. "However," Patricia continued, "we have also reviewed your performance over the past 3 years, including your recent work as creative director. Your results speak for themselves. The Nakamura deal alone has generated substantial revenue. Your team's campaigns have exceeded every metric." Rachel felt a tiny flicker of hope. "The question before us is not whether you deserve your position," Richard Thompson added. "Clearly you do. The question is how we move forward in a way that protects both you and the company." Margaret Chen leaned forward. "Miss Bennet, we need to know the truth. Did your relationship with Mr. Hartley begin before or after your promotion?" Rachel took a deep breath. This was the moment of truth. She could lie, could claim it started after the promotion to protect herself. But she had built her career on integrity, and she was not going to sacrifice that now. After Rachel said firmly, "The promotion was based entirely on my work. Our personal relationship developed later, and we have maintained strict professional boundaries at work. Can anyone confirm that timeline?" Margaret asked. "I can," James said. "I have been transparent with Patricia about the situation. I initiated the relationship after Rachel was promoted. It was my decision to pursue something personal, and I take full responsibility for any complications that is created." Patricia looked between them, then at her fellow board members. They seemed to have a silent conversation before Patricia spoke again. "Here is what we are going to do. Miss Bennet, you'll be reassigned to report directly to the board rather than to Mr. Hartley. This removes the direct conflict of interest. Your title and salary remain unchanged. You will continue to lead your current projects, but any performance reviews or compensation decisions will be made by a board committee, not by Mr. Hartley." Additionally, Richard added, "We will be issuing a statement clarifying that your promotion was based on merit and occurred before any personal relationship began. We will also be implementing new company policies about disclosure of workplace relationships." Rachel felt tears pricking her eyes, but these were tears of relief. "Thank you," she said. "I appreciate your faith in my work." The public statement that evening, Davenport Industries issued a carefully worded statement. It confirmed that Rachel Bennet and James Hartley were in a relationship, that it had begun after her promotion, and that steps had been taken to ensure no conflicts of interest. It emphasized Rachel's qualifications and contributions to the company's recent success. The internet, of course, had opinions. Some people praised the company's transparency. Others remained skeptical. Rachel's social media filled with both supportive messages and cruel accusations. "Do not read the comments," Jenna advised, when Rachel finally called her back to explain everything. "Seriously, Rach, nothing good ever comes from reading the comments." "I know," Rachel sighed. She was curled up on her couch, exhausted from the emotional roller coaster of the day. "How are Mom and Dad?" "Confused but supportive," Jenna said. "Dad wants to know if James is good enough for you. Mom wants to know when she gets to meet him. And I want to know why you did not tell me you were dating a billionaire." Despite everything, Rachel laughed. "It is not about the money, Jenna. It is about him. He is brilliant and driven, and yes, sometimes impossible. But he sees me, the real me, and he challenges me to be better." "Then I am happy for you," Jenna said warmly. "Just bring him to Wisconsin soon so we can all interrogate him properly." The choice Rachel's doorbell rang an hour later. She knew without looking that it would be James. She opened the door to find him standing there, still in his suit, but looking more disheveled than she had ever seen him. "Can I come in?" he asked. Rachel stepped aside, and he entered her modest apartment. It was the first time he had been there, She watched him take in her space with its mismatched furniture and walls covered in art prints. "Rachel, I am so sorry," James said, turning to face her. "I never wanted this to hurt you or your family. I should have handled this differently from the start." "How?" Rachel asked. "By not pursuing this? By keeping everything secret forever?" "James, there was no perfect way to handle this situation. I could have been more public from the beginning," James said. "I could have made sure everyone knew that your work spoke for itself before anyone knew about us." "You did," Rachel reminded him. "The Nakamura deal, the campaigns, all of that happened before today. Anyone who actually looks at my record can see that I earned my position." James ran a hand through his hair, a gesture Rachel had come to recognize as his tell when he was stressed. "The board suggested that you report to them instead of to me. It makes sense from a professional standpoint, but Rachel, it feels like they are forcing us apart. They're protecting both of us," Rachel said gently. "And honestly, it might be better this way. No one can accuse you of favoritism now. Do you want to continue this?" James asked suddenly. "Because Rachel, I will understand if this is too much. Your career is important. Your reputation matters. If being with me is going to damage that, then maybe we should end this now, before it gets worse." Rachel looked at him, really looked at him. This man who was always so controlled, so perfect, was standing in her apartment offering to walk away to protect her. And in that moment, she knew exactly what she wanted. "James Hartley, are you trying to break up with me?" she asked. "I am trying to give you an out," he said. "Because I love you too much to let this relationship destroy everything you have worked for." Rachel's breath caught. It was the first time either of them had said those words. "You love me?" she whispered. "Yes," James said simply. "I have been trying not to say it because it makes this even more complicated, but yes. I love you, Rachel Bennett. I love your brilliant mind and your fierce dedication. I love how you challenge me and how you see past the CEO to the man underneath. I love that you make me want to be better, not just at business, but at life." Rachel crossed the space between them and took his hands. "Then you should know that I love you too. And I am not walking away because some people think poorly of me. I did not work this hard to build my career just to let gossip destroy it. But more importantly, I did not find something real and meaningful just to give it up at the first sign of trouble." "Are you sure?" James asked. "Because Rachel, this is only going to get harder before it gets easier. There will be more articles, more gossip, more people questioning whether you deserve your success." "Let them question," Rachel said firmly. "I know what I am capable of." "You know what I am capable of? And anyone who actually works with me knows what I am capable of. I am not going to let other people's opinions dictate my life." James pulled her close, resting his forehead against hers. "You are amazing," he whispered. "I know," Rachel said with a small smile. "You should probably get used to that." The new beginning over the following weeks, the storm gradually calmed. Rachel's work continued to speak for itself. Her team launched a campaign that won industry awards. The Nakamura partnership expanded into new markets. Slowly, the narrative shifted from woman who slept her way to the top to rising star in corporate America. James kept his promise about honest feedback. He praised her work publicly, but he also challenged her privately, pushing her to think bigger and take risks. Their professional relationship now filtered through the board. Actually became stronger because there could be no question of favoritism. Their personal relationship deepened too. James met Rachel's family, during her father's protective questions and her mother's enthusiastic welcome with good humor. Rachel spent weekends at his lake house, where she discovered he still painted, though he had been hiding it. "These are beautiful," Rachel said. Standing in the converted boathouse where James kept his artwork hidden, canvases were stacked against the walls, all landscapes and seascapes in vivid colors. "They are self-indulgent," James said, but he looked pleased by her praise. "They are human," Rachel corrected. "James, why do you hide these?" "Because they are not perfect," he admitted. "They are raw and emotional, and I have spent my whole life trying to control emotions." "Maybe that is exactly why you should share them," Rachel said gently. "Maybe it is okay to show people that you are more than just a CEO, that you are an artist and a person and someone who feels things deeply." 6 months after the story broke, James made another bold decision. Davenport Industries was sponsoring a charity gala, and instead of attending alone as he always had, James invited Rachel as his official date. "Are you sure?" Rachel asked when he proposed the idea. "That is very public." "I am done hiding," James said. "I love you, and I want the world to know it. More importantly, I want you to know that I am committed to this, to us, regardless of what anyone else thinks." The gala was elegant and crowded with Chicago's elite. When Rachel arrived in a stunning emerald dress that brought out the green flecks in her hazel eyes, James could not take his eyes off her. "You are staring," Rachel whispered as they posed for photos on the red carpet. "I do not care," James replied, taking her hand proudly. Later, as they danced, surrounded by business associates and society figures, James pulled Rachel closer. "Do you remember that morning when you called me arrogant but attractive?" he asked. "How could I forget?" Rachel laughed. "It changed everything." "It did," James agreed. "It gave me permission to be honest. With you, with myself, about what I wanted beyond just business success." "And what do you want?" Rachel asked, looking up at him. "This," James said simply. "A partner who challenges me, who sees me, who is not afraid to tell me when I am being impossible. Someone who makes me want to be more than just a CEO. I want you, Rachel. Today, tomorrow, and for as long as you will have me." "That sounds suspiciously like a long-term commitment, Mr. Hartley," Rachel teased. "It is, Miss Bennett," James replied. "I am done pretending that business is enough. You showed me that life is about more than profit margins and perfect presentations. It is about finding someone who makes you want to paint again, who makes you laugh, who makes every day feel like an adventure." As they swayed to the music, Rachel reflected on how much had changed since that fateful morning 6 months ago. She had gained a promotion, yes, but she had also gained something far more valuable. She had gained a partner who respected her mind as much as he loved her heart, who pushed her to be better while accepting her as she was. "I love you," Rachel whispered. "I love you too," James replied. "And I do not care who knows it." The epilogue 1 year later. Rachel stood in front of another board meeting, but this time she was presenting as VP of Global Strategy. Another promotion that no one could question given her track record. The Nakamura partnership had expanded to 3 more countries, and Rachel's innovative approaches had become case studies in business schools. James sat in the audience. Just another board member now, though everyone knew he was much more. He watched her present with obvious pride, and when she finished to enthusiastic applause, he caught her eye and smiled. That evening, at the same restaurant where they had shared their first secret dinner, James pulled out a small velvet box. "Rachel Bennett, you called me arrogant but attractive, and you were right on both counts," he began, making her laugh through sudden tears. "But you also saw past that to the person I could be, the person I wanted to be. You made me believe that I could have both professional success and personal happiness. You made me want to paint again, to feel again, to live again.